Hello and welcome to our session, Do Tank AI Experiments with ICAx. I'm Emma Lindahl.
And I'm Sofie Karlsson.
Let's get started. So I'm going to set out with this kind of busy slide and also be really frank with you. AI experiments, it's not just an opportunity, it's a necessity. We're at a critical juncture and you have some really important choices to make. You know that the global AI market is at an unstoppable trajectory, and if you don't act swiftly, you risk falling behind, or you actually will fall behind. The market is growing whether you like it or not, and if your company doesn't have a clear, actionable AI strategy in place, well, it might be too late for you. We will talk about our carefully but forcefully designed strategy and the important milestones ahead that we're working towards. We'll go through our portfolio of non-negotiable initiatives to support our strategy and the KPIs that we have in place to ensure that we're actually on the right track towards our strategy. Actually, we won't talk about this at all.
But we will continue with some disclaimers, just to set the mode for our talk. So first of all, ICA is not a tech company, at least not yet. So we will talk from the perspective of a regular company approaching AI and new technology.
A retail company.
Retail company, you'll tell them more about that in a second. We are also not a tech team. We're a pure tech team. We're a business innovation team. So we will talk about approaching new technology and AI from a new business perspective, trying to find new opportunities for ICA. So in summary, we won't really talk that much about AI at all. We will try to inspire you to find a path forward with our learnings and insights from ICAx.
So let's sort of re-welcome you to this session, Do Tank AI Experiments with us. But first, a bit about ICA. So here you see this impressive slide showing our very nice numbers of staff and stores and pharmacies, etc., and all of the different business verticals and companies that we actually have in the group portfolio. So we're not just a food company, although that's a really big part of us, and of course the heart in the group. We have an insurance company, we have a bank, we have Sweden's leading pharmacy, we have a real estate company, we have Rimi, telemedicine, etc. And the list will probably grow. We're present in almost all of the municipalities in Sweden, apart from actually just 4. So that's quite impressive.
It is.
But what about ICAx then, if you haven't heard about us before? We're the innovation hub of ICA-gruppen, and we have been around since 2017. Yes, we're all at the time when all of the major companies had a bit of an X-hype, right? We have survived. We work with all of the companies within the group, and we're focused on, and this is really the core fundamenta of what we do. We explore, we experiment, and we create the future businesses of ICA. And Sofie will talk more about, doing, but to really put an emphasis on that, experiment is really at the core of what we do. We don't know, but instead we form hypotheses and we conduct experiments to figure out. This is vital for us. We cover, you see in the middle there, the stores and the drones and the robots, etc., and there's much more to be said there. We cover a really wide range of opportunities. We have our unmanned stores, more than 60 today, coming from us. We did Sweden's first store-to-consumer drone delivery. We have investigated cleaning robots. In fact, we have more than 100 projects where we have investigated different business opportunities. And given that we actually shut down approximately 80% of our projects, naturally, you don't know about all of them. But basically new tech, new consumer products, but also, of course, backstage opportunities is at least some examples of what we cover. And then lastly, you see money and a brainy heart. Personally, I believe that this is a really part of our success, and you will talk a lot about the business aspect of what we do. we have a relentless focus on creating new businesses, and we don't do it alone. We do it in collaboration with all of the fantastic people we have, of course, in ICA-gruppen, because we're just a small team of experts on being generalists, basically. Yeah.
Let's jump over to this. So what we've tried to do is sort of, especially maybe for this talk, summarize sort of our approach to how we look at new technology and how we work with our mindset around that. So hopefully we can inspire you to start doing things yourself. So we're going to start with the fundamentals, which is doing, as Emma said. Doing really and experimenting is really what we do on a day-to-day basis. But what I want to emphasize here is not just the doing, but doing without the map. So we're not suggesting that you, after you've set all of your strategies, your KPIs and your priorities, start experimenting. We suggest that you experiment first and do first before you know much else, so that you can really go into the market with an open mind and find a whole new dynamic that you didn't even know exists. So we start somewhere. It's a hypothesis, it's an opportunity, it's a learning, and then we go from there without having a very set map. And that's what we really would like you to suggest, and that's sort of the foundation of all of our projects.
So that you actually get a data-driven strategy in place, so that it's not just, I mean, of course, a strategy is built upon a lot of important parts, but we think that doing and learning is a really important part of this. And like we were saying, when we actually start doing, that's where we learn. When we were thinking about going into autonomous store, you know, where you can move into a store and you can take things from the shelves and you pass through the cashier and everything is sort of just solved frictionless. If we do that on paper, it's not the same thing as when we actually decided to really go ahead and say, we're going to implement this, we're going to do this. That helped us form invaluable learnings that we never would have gotten if we would have stuck in the sort of paper mode. In the end, I mean, of course, you don't see the store concept live, so we shut the project down, but with a amount of learnings that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
I think it's important being a part of the infrastructure of a project rather than looking at an infrastructure from the outside or an ecosystem, and really understanding dynamics from the inside rather than looking at them from the outside. Yeah. So that really comes to the second one, which is explore, which go obviously hand in hand with do. But I also, again, want to focus on maybe also with the structure. Because new technology doesn't develop in a linear way. There's waves, there's changes in 2 weeks that we could have never predicted, or it takes years for a technology to become mainstream. And you don't really know. I mean, smart homes, where is it gonna?
Where is it? Where's my smart home?
So I think in order to build sustainable business, we must interact with this trend or these in many different point of views in many different areas. But you can't really focus on only answering your questions when you go into exploration. You have to really have a mindset of testing to learn, not to validate your ideas, and not only to find that $1 billion idea, because then you probably won't find it. If that's the only mindset you have to focus on small things that can sort of together build something bigger.
Like when we tested, I mean, I told you about, we did the first store-to-consumer drone delivery. Of course, here we captured learnings. We went in with an exploring mindset. We captured learnings around how this would work at the store, how it works with the customers, how the infrastructure need to look like, what is the legislation saying, what are the drone manufacturers saying, etc. And these were stuff that we would never have understood again if we would have just sat and looked at it from the outside. That's a really good metaphor. And we learned that, the timing wasn't really right, especially from a legislation and infrastructure point of view. But now we have built all of the relationships. We understand what's really vital for us to monitor, to know that now actually the time is right.
Yeah, so that structure really helped setting in place those key elements that you can come back to. And I think if you had just mindlessly gone into it, then maybe it would be harder to follow up. Yeah. So that's why we emphasize the structure.
The structure is
structured exploration.
Yeah, maybe we should stay on that a bit because it's so, people can tend to think that, innovation, you play and it's Post-its and Lego, etc. And for us, it's a very structured approach, of course, with fantastic, fun sort of, topics and exploration that we do, but it's business.
And you really need to have a process, both to build sort of accountability in the organization, to know that we are moving. We say that we move from knowing nothing to knowing a little, and that's really our role.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow structured steps, I think it's harder to do that in a business viable way.
Yeah.
So the structure really helps us. Another thing that really helps us is grit, because innovation is hard. Innovation and technical challenges and organizations are difficult to push things through. And I think you really need to have grit when you face a new area, because if you see each no as an obstacle, then you're not really going to get anywhere. But I also think it's a grit when it comes to projects. Being able to maintain both, as you said, sleeper projects that we have certain things to look for, but also maintaining sort of low energy projects, things that we know are going to be something that we just don't know when. And have those, and have the grit to continue looking at them, not spending all of our money, not putting them on top of our portfolio, but maintaining the grit to know, because as you said in the beginning, a lot of our things took longer than we thought because we had the grit to maintain them.
Like robots.
Yes.
We have looked at robots probably since we started, right?
Yes.
Because obviously it's interesting and appealing with robots. And we have looked at, the fur hat technology, cleaning robots, etc. And now we're again sort of looking at it from a wider range of a perspective, and we'll probably do some experiments this fall. So again, grit is a vital principle for us. Principle is something that we stole from Amazon. Thank you.
One of many things.
Yes, one of many things.
Okay, so lastly, we want to talk about something that you also mentioned, which is adapt and embrace change, which is also the nature of innovation. We close down most of our projects. Yeah. And we're not suggesting that everyone has the opportunity to close down most of their projects, but I think that the mindset of experimenting, learning, and then making new decisions is really something we encourage. So if you have worked with new technologies and you haven't closed down any of your projects, you probably haven't been risky enough, and you haven't really explored the technology where you should have explored the technology.
Yeah.
And I think, especially, we talk a lot about challenging status quo. And I think this is also challenging status quo. A project that has cost us a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a lot of love doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to create a business. So we also have to remember the cool vibe and the cool factor of a new technology versus the actual business value and the customer value. And I think that's also a core. You have to be able to embrace change, right? First, voice was super important, then it was not.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to handle those different things.
We have a great example, right?
Go with the example.
Yeah, go with the example. So voice was one of the first technologies that we experimented with back in 2017 and 18. And we partnered up with Google when they were launching their home device to actually then launch a voice assistant. And then Amazon, they were launching this little device that you could scan barcodes with and you could chat into it. And we thought, hey, that's really nifty. We should have something like that too. And this is a very sort of not infamous. It's a famous project for us and a lot of love in it. The Wand project, where grit was really, we actually have an award based on this project because Johan, we love you. You're a leading star in terms of grit, pushed so many different angles of this project. In the end, you don't see that device out in the markets or in your homes, but we learned so much and we have the Grit Award thanks to it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we feel that we should at least talk a little bit about how we apply these principles.
To AI? We haven't talked about AI.
We haven't talked about AI.
Oh, shit.
So the first one is really I think both doing, exploring, gritting, a startup that we had the connection with from 2017.
Yeah.
But finally, sort of when AI became hot enough, we were able to do it. So it's a collaboration with a company that builds a structure that helps our stores with waste.
Yeah.
So it's now a launched solution into the stores where they get help on how to plan their store so that they have less waste in it.
Yeah.
And we see a great result, 20 to 40% less waste in the stores, which we think is amazing, both for business and for our other goals.
Fantastic.
And then we look at, the other doing, which is exploring with the structure, where we look at technology from, especially Gen I, from different point of view. One is a consumer-facing product where we're launching a service that helps, or we're testing, of course, experimenting with a service that helps customer change products in their cart to decrease their climate impact.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at analytics in store.
Yeah.
For using AI as a sort of support to our stores.
With Solita, I might add.
But I think maybe one of the most important thing for us when it comes to getting familiarized with AI is using it ourselves.
Yeah, we have done some really cool experiments where we're trying to push the boundaries for how we can incorporate, of course, AI into our everyday, having, tailored sessions around building GPTs, etc., to really, understand and start leveraging the potential, and ultimately to also understand, if we're going to be change advocates towards others, we have to be change advocates for ourselves to really, walk the talk. And also, like we usually talk about that, it's so important now. I think I picked this up from a Harvard Business Review article that, you can't put AI as a sort of plaster on existing structures and processes. You really have to sort of reinvent how you do stuff, or at least explore how you need to reinvent stuff. Yeah,
and I think also something you often say is, chewing the elephant.
Yeah.
I think that's what we really want to end on, that recommendation, that, AI is scary, as Emma's first slide showed. It's scary and it's a big topic, but what we suggest is, especially having an active mindset around it and not being scared of failing around that, but also taking it in smaller steps, trying something and trying several somethings and really try to chew the AI hype as an elephant.
Yeah, that's a good concluding remark. I think we want to thank you for your attention, and sorry if we sort of played with you a bit in the beginning. I hope that you reach out to us if you're interested in collaborations or talking about our learnings more in depth. Thank you so much.
Or if you're really annoyed that we didn't talk enough about AI.
Yeah, exactly. If you're really annoyed, that's fine too.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.